thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
I would.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, did we? Oh, we did. Yes. Oh, yes. Good morning, you guys. It is Thursday, February 12th, 2026, and today is National Giving Hearts Day today, you guys.
Giving hearts? Well, Valentine's Day is on Saturday,
giving
right?
Hearts. Well, no, Valentine's Day is Sunday, Dale. Easy there. You're going to get all the women all in an uproar.
I think it might be Saturday. I might want to double check it, but
it's Sunday. I know for a fact that it's Sunday, Nate. I know for a fact.
Isn't today the 12th?
Oh shit! It's Saturday. It is Saturday.
Sir,
oh shit!
Yeah,
shit! I'm totally sorry. My bad. My mistake. I made a mistake. Sorry. Mark it down on your calendars. Okay.
The 14th.
Mark it on your calendars.
Friday,
I made a mistake.
And then Saturday. Yeah, Saturday's Valentine's Day.
Just
Don't get
notice
yourself in trouble there, bro.
Just notice that when I do realize I make a mistake, I quickly pivot and I correct myself instantly. Just so you know. Very rarely happens. Mark it on your calendars. Big Hearts give big on National Giving Hearts Day. The second Thursday in February of each year, the celebration offers one of the best opportunities to donate to your favorite charity. Not only that, this is the longest running giving day in the United States. So many hearts and so much to give. So they want you to donate to charities, you guys.
I'm taking my grandson to In-N-Out Burger. That's my charity.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you, Dale. Yeah.
I mean, a National Charity Day. I'm going to be honest. I've heard worse ideas. So, all right. That's not considering. I was expecting it to be, the embarrassing little brother of Valentine's Day that no one talks about. But that actually has some sense behind it.
Considering most charities are just scams and, you know what I'm saying, and whatnot. You know, not sure if it's the smartest thing to.
I bet if you ran a charity, Jason, you would do it right.
I would, 100%, without a doubt. It would be the best run charity, Nate, the best run charity in the world.
Illusions of grandeur.
Truth.
Here we go.
Truth is reality, Dale. And my truth is reality.
Yeah. Just because you believe it, don't mean it's true.
Oh, it would be the best, Dale. It would be the best. It's also National Plum Pudding Day. I feel like you eat plum pudding.
What? I don't know about a plum pudding.
Plum pudding. I've never even had plum pudding.
Same, never.
Yeah?
Look at that. Like, I don't know about a plum pudding.
It sounds
peach
weird.
Cobbler.
Peach cobbler sounds good. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Lots of whipped cream.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Plum pudding. Well, that's all the days for today. So thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. There's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And man, you guys, a Kentucky lawmaker introduces a bill to allow personal use of marijuana. That's right. A Kentucky lawmaker from Louisville has introduced a bill that pushes for major changes to the state's marijuana laws. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear signed a bill in 2023 that legalized medical cannabis, with dispensaries across the state already opening or opening soon. Kentucky is one of 38 states to legalize medical cannabis, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and marijuana remains illegal for personal use in Kentucky, though. And State Senator Gary Clemens, a Democrat, is looking to change that. Clemens wants to amend the state's constitution to allow adults who are 21 and older to legally buy and possess small amounts of cannabis for personal use. Senate Bill 168 proposes that people would be able to possess, use, buy, or sell 1 ounce or less of marijuana, and to cultivate, harvest, and store up to 5 cannabis plants for personal use. Clemens also introduced a bill that would end criminal penalties for low-level possession of marijuana, and currently in Kentucky, possession of marijuana is a Class B misdemeanor. Well, this sounds like this is like default adult use without actual stores to go and purchase that. And this sounds like maybe Kentucky wants to be the next New York. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Bodegas, bodegas, bodegas in Kentucky.
I'm sure that you can still buy weed wherever you want there, like any place in the country.
Yeah,
but
but
the games being played about making it legal are just that. They're games.
Well, but Dale, they're saying, hey, you're not going to be charged with a crime for possessing an ounce or less for anyone 21 and up.
Well, I get it. We did that here in California. We still have a system that's so screwed up you can't see which way it's going. Oh, I'd like to see them stop thinking of us like we're fentanyl dealers and got to worry about the kids and see if we can make this more like alcohol. And I'm just not here. Kentucky makes a lot of bourbon.
They do.
They don't treat bourbon like this. It's a hell of a lot more dangerous than smoking some pot.
I'm sure Marijuana Mitch is opposed to this.
I'm sure. He can't find his ass with both hands. So, what are we going to do with him?
Stone, what do you think? Are you considering making a move to Kentucky so you can, you know what I'm saying, possess up to an ounce and grow 5 plants at your house?
No, I won't be doing that. But hey, props to Kentuckians for being able to do that. You can trust them with the bourbon. You can trust them with a couple ounces of pot. Come on.
It's just 1 ounce of pot, Dale, or Stone.
You should be able to trust them with a couple at least. Come on.
Well, they're giving them 5 plants.
Baby
you know what I mean? 5 plants.
Yeah.
Baby steps. Hey, it's better than we got in Texas.
If you can't get more than a couple ounces out of 5 plants, maybe you shouldn't be growing anything. Well, I'm just saying.
The thing about it, Dale, it depends on how you grow it. If you're growing outdoors, you should be getting at least 5 pounds with 5 plants, and if you're growing indoors, you're lucky if you get an ounce.
Yeah, but that's 5 ounces.
That is 5 ounces, but it also said they have to catch you with it, Dale. So as long as you're not out riding around in your car with all 5 ounces all at the same time, you should be all right.
Are you suggesting we should not follow the law?
No, that's not what I'm. No, you're misinterpreting.
As long as they don't catch you.
That's right.
It tells me you're doing something you shouldn't be that you don't want them to catch you doing.
Well, catch me if you can. Catch me outside. How about that?
Catch me outside.
We're all pretty disagreeable here.
Yeah.
Like you tell me I can't do that. It's like, hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly. Let me show you how fast this can change. Nate, what do you think about this, Nate? Any thoughts?
Appreciate you asking. It's just one more of the too many building blocks that we see on the way to hopefully outright legalization. What do you do? I'm trying to think of this as zoomed out of a way as possible to just kind of process everything.
Are you zooming?
And at the end of the day, yes, let's see it move forward by little bits, but how many little stories is it going to be like this before we actually see what we consider to be a real difference? Like when we would ever fantasize about cannabis being truly free, say going back easily to when we were all kids, that vision that we had, and I hate to bring childlike innocence into this, but that vision that we thought looked like, this is obviously just steps of bureaucracy and just just pinpointing little areas of the struggle. And I guess in my wildest dreams, I would have never seen the actual legalization and rollout have to be 1,000 little battles like these. hell, though, you're documenting all of them, Jason. So it's interesting to see. It's just not what I would have thought, you know, and I'm looking forward to hopefully, because I've seen other ideas become mainstream and fast tracked. I mean, you know, hell, I grew up without cell phones. Now you literally can't live in this world anywhere in it without one.
I love a good battle, Nate.
So how does that, you know, really translate to the quickness that we should have seen something like surrounding a simple plant changed, and how broken systems are just trying to keep a broken system continuously broken? I don't know. I'm waxing philosophical at this point, but, you know, more of this and less with the red tape, please, because this needs to not be a thing that's a part of us or our kids' futures.
Tape is always better when it's red. Just saying, Nate. Just everything. Red makes everything better. Just so you know. And on that, we're going to, I think we're going to skip our first commercial because we were late jumping off this morning. So we're going to skip our first commercial. I'm going to roll right into my second story. Dale, this is for you, buddy. Because the CRS, the Congressional Research Service, weighs 280E's constitutionality for cannabis businesses, you guys. That's right. The Congressional Research Service addressed legal questions on Section 280E's punitive tax application to licensed cannabis operators. The federal government's oppressive tax structure under Internal Revenue Code 280E still applies to state-sanctioned cannabis businesses under the plant Schedule I control status, according to congressional researchers. However, whether Section 280E violates the Eighth Amendment's excessive fines clause is a matter of debate, according to a Congressional Research Service report published on February 6th. The report addressed tax-related legal issues for cannabis businesses on the heels of President Donald J. Trump's executive order on December 18th, which directed U.S. Attorney General Pamela Bondi to expedite the process of reclassifying cannabis from a Schedule I to a Schedule III drug under the Controlled Substances Act. Neither Bondi nor the DOJ has provided a public update on that process to loosen federal restrictions on cannabis nearly 2 months later. And until cannabis is reclassified to a Schedule III or lower under federal law, Section 280E prevents state-sanctioned cannabis businesses from writing off many of their day-to-day expenses and overhead costs, including payroll, rent, utilities, and even charitable gifts. Look at that on National Charity Day, to promote goodwill, according to the CRS. In a quote, Section 280E applies to marijuana businesses operating in compliance with state law because trafficking marijuana continues to violate federal law, according to the report. The federal government has not consistently enforced the CSA against state-sanctioned marijuana businesses, and however, any lack of enforcement of the CSA does not render Section 280E inoperable. This means cannabis businesses, from cultivators and processors to distributors and retailers, remain on the tax hook until the Trump administration potentially finishes what President Joe Biden, DOJ, initiated. Cute. A proposed Schedule III rule in May of 2024. Until then, many cannabis operators continue to face effective federal income tax rates that approach as high as 80%. The 280E tax burden often represents the difference between profitability and unprofitability in the cannabis space, and in 2024, Whitney Economics estimated that only 27.3% of U.S. cannabis operators were profitable, and this compares to roughly 65% of all small businesses in the U.S. that are profitable. The Eighth Amendment's excessive fines clause, as the federal government continues to treat cannabis businesses differently from other American businesses, congressional researchers evaluated the following question. Does Section 280E violate the Eighth Amendment's excessive fines clause? To answer this question, the CRS weighed a 2019 case, Northern California Small Business Assistance Incorporated versus the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, in which the U.S. Tax Court ruled that Section 280E does not violate the excessive fines clause. However, a panel of the court's judges offered differing opinions. Whether Section 280E's disallowance of deductions is a denial of tax benefit or a punishment for the purposes of the Eighth Amendment is a matter of debate. According to the CRS report, nothing that the Supreme Court has ruled that is a fine is excessive, where it is grossly disproportional to the gravity of the offense. In the 1998 Supreme Court case, United States versus Benjikalachian, the court ruled that the touchstone of the constitutionality inquiry under the Eighth Amendment's excessive fines clause is the principle of potentiality. The amount of the forfeiture must bear some relationship to the gravity of the offense that it is designed to punish. So, is taxing cannabis business differently designed to punish their offense of a federal law that the federal government, specifically the DOJ, overwhelmingly does not enforce? The Senate Finance Committee provided insights in a report that was attached to the 1982 legislation that enacted Section 280E, and in a quote they say, "There is a sharply defined public policy against drug dealing to allow drug dealers to benefit of business expense deductions at the same time that the U.S. and its citizens are losing billions of dollars per year to such persons is not compelled by the fact that such deductions are allowed to other legal enterprises. Such deductions must be disallowed on public policy grounds." That was 14 years before California became the first state to legalize medical cannabis back in 1996, and times have certainly changed since then. With the majority of Americans now living in states with adult use legalization, public policy has shifted. 64% of U.S. adults favor federal cannabis legalization in 2025, according to a Gallup poll survey. But still, cannabis companies are treated differently, because in the 2019 U.S. tax court case, a medical cannabis dispensary in California argued that Section 280E imposes a gross receipts tax as a penalty in violation of the U.S. Constitution, and after the IRS issued the company a notice that denied its attempt to take 280E tax deductions. At the heart of the taxpayers' argument was that Section 280E imposed a penalty in violation of the Eighth Amendment's excessive fine clause. The panel agreed to deny the taxpayers' motion for summary judgment, but the judges varied in their approach to researching that decision. While 10 tax court judges were in the majority, holding that Section 280E does not violate the excessive fines clause, 3 judges concluded that 280E imposes a fine but did not determine whether that fine was excessive. The opinion emphasized Congress's unquestionable authority to tax gross income and concluded that Congress was the proper body to address the taxpayers' grievances, according to the report. And although cannabis businesses cannot deduct their ordinary business expenses under Section 280E, the tax code does not prevent cannabis operators from reducing their gross receipts by the cost of goods sold, better known as their COGS, when calculating their federal income tax liability, because COGS offsets gross receipts when determining gross income, whereas deductions reduce gross income to calculate taxable income, according to the CRS. Cannabis businesses can calculate their COGS by adding their start-of-year inventory to their year's purchases and production costs, and then subtracting their year-end inventory. In a quote, "Outside this general convention, there is little tax guidance concerning the application of 280E, according to the report. Marijuana businesses have generally been unsuccessful in challenging the Internal Revenue IRS's code application of Section 280E, and likewise have not succeeded in their attempts to challenge 280Es on constitutional grounds." Oh, well. CRS, they're throwing some shade on 280E. And possibility. I can't wait to see what happens with this, because I have an imagination that this may be a catalyst to bring tax reform to the people. And what do y'all have to say about this?
Appreciate all the voice acting there, Jason.
I'm glad you enjoyed that.
280E, man. 280E is just to give everybody a perspective of it and how we look at it in the industry. 280E is much of a thorn in our foot and something that we can't get around and constantly hurts us, as something that people are consistently building systems to get around, whether it's going to traditional, aka black market, or whether or not is instead of your organization financially managing itself, all of its financial management may be outsourced to a financial management firm who is a perfectly acceptable working business and who is not necessarily privy to 280E limitations. And of course, it's not a cure-all when you have to work around things like that, but it just shows the absolute sham that this is and how people approach it, and it's treated as a joke, right? Like, is that your guys' experience with this too?
Well, I mean, I view it as theft, as I believe all taxes are theft, just in general. You know what I mean?
That's a dark joke, but no, I agree with the theft as well.
It's true. I believe it is theft. I'm not. You know what I mean?
This takes that theft to a whole new level.
Exactly. Yeah. This is, you know what I'm saying? This is like
a relic. This is a relic of the war on drugs. It's time to frickin' update and move on.
Yeah, to me, 280E. I mean, it was originally created to fight against the mob. You know what I'm saying? Because after all, Al Capone is what he went to jail for, was tax evasion. You know what I mean? And I agree that, you know, like if you're getting subject to 280E, maybe your best output is tax evasion, because you know, it's just like, hey, I don't believe in you know. I do want us to be able to pay for roads, pay for infrastructure, things like that, a strong military, of course, and stuff like that. But how the current tax code is written is just theft of the American people.
It is, and we have to have enough money to give the president $10 billion for his lawsuit. So we got to make sure.
The Constitution gives Congress the power over taxes. Mm-hmm. We all just pull our hair out what little I've got left, because you're right. They take money from us, which, you know, we don't agree to, but we have to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. We're looking at the results of what we get, and you know what we're paying and what we're getting don't add up.
Yeah.
And you're right. And this is the legacy of the war on drugs. I mean, they won a drug dealer won a case back in the 1980s or in the Reagan administration. It was ridiculous. He got to write all the shit off. He was just slinging heroin or something, or coke. I don't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. And oh yeah, you can write off like a regular business. So they changed this. Okay. And it's targeted at drugs, drug dealers. And so what that tells me is that underlying that, they think we're all still drug dealers, which is nothing could be further from the truth. People that sell alcohol, are they considered drug dealers? Well, in Prohibition, they were.
Yeah.
How do we get beyond that? Because that's the underlying assumption. And this idea that it's a penalty in the industry, we all know it is. I've set up the management services corporations. I've set up the management services agreements to move all the resources away from a plant touching business so we can wink, wink, nod, nod, write shit off. And it's still, you get overly taxed. This is in reality, de facto, it's a penalty, okay? But it's wrapped up as a tax. And the Eighth Amendment should step in and go, you know what, like the Timms case in Indiana, they took a guy's BMW for having what, a fucking joint in his, I mean, for basically nothing. They found that to be an excessive fine to take his BMW by forfeiture. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to have to sort of reshape the thinking a little bit here, and I'm glad to see members of Congress recognizing this is one of the big things keeping this industry from being viable. Is we overtax the shit out of them to the point where they can't do it. And it's easy to go out the back door and divert it and whatever. And so we continue the illegal activity, which gives them, hey, they won't pay attention. They won't follow the rules. They're all drug dealers. Yeah, you will not allow us to. So how do we break this? I'm happy to see people in Congress recognizing this is nonsense. But I'm not real hopeful, because the Supreme Court refused to go after the Raich case. They refused to do certiorari. Just go up, we're going to put our hands up. That could have pulled the rug out from a whole lot of this shit. If they don't have the authority of the Commerce Clause to do this, they're going to be scrambling. But powers that be don't seem to want to do it yet. What's it going to take? And for those of us who are in the industry watching, you know, people's lives and their businesses just fall apart because of this ongoing nonsense. I mean, it just makes me angry. So I got to find a way to channel my anger into something that's not getting me arrested for assault and battery for smacking some dumbass in the face. How do we do that now? Because this is infuriating.
Fair enough. Well, on that, you know what I'm saying? We need to bring tax relief to the people as we bring weed to the people, but nonetheless, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. And Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, and they turn your teeth yellow and other things yellow. But he is honest, and he's unconcerned with public opinion, your opinion, and anyone else that wants to identify as anything else's opinion. And he will show you and tell you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right. It is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can find him at his own law office at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. It's your favorite Tio Loco and Jason's favorite full of shiticus. Here we go again. Another one of these, statements from the government that we are still redheaded stepchildren. Mm-hmm. This story today comes out of Marijuana Moment and Kyle Yeager from yesterday. And the headline is Federal Judge Dismisses Marijuana Business's Lawsuit Challenging CBP, Customs Border Protection Seizure State Legal Products. Now, this has been going on for a minute, and it's happened here in California. Within 100 miles of the border, CPB, the immigration folks, set up immigration checkpoints, can pull you over there, and they can be looking for not only illegal immigrants, but drugs being transported into the country. Okay. Oh, it sounds good, wonderful. Okay. But if you're running a cannabis business and you got a truckload of product you're taking someplace within a 100-mile radius, and they stop you, guess what? It's a federal crime to be transporting weed. Okay. And they'll take it from you. Now, this happened here in California. I think it was the Highway Patrol sent somebody and turned it over to the federal government. And my friend Matt Cuman was back when they were really enforcing you don't have any money to spend if it's a state legal marijuana operation. He sued the federal government, and they weren't allowed to spend money to go in and defend it. He got a better result. What this judge did is he looked at 4 causes of action, or I think 12 or 13 incidents, where they stopped truckloads of weed, people in it, some of them were detained. They took money, they took product, vehicles, and they were all done by Customs and Border Protection within 100 miles of checkpoints and things like that. Okay. And they went into federal court. You're going to sue the federal government. It's the best place to have standing and jurisdiction, all that stuff. They went to federal court. And ultimately, what the federal judge said is, excuse me, folks, but this is a Schedule I drug. Okay. And the federal government can write all the memos it wants and can tap dance around this. Congress has not changed the Schedule I status of marijuana. It is illegal. So at the end of the day, you can jump up and down and argue all you want. You broke federal law. Okay? So pound sand, you ain't getting shit. They also pointed out they gave the vehicles back, so you don't. It's moot, things like that. But I read the order, and it's clear to me I need to go. If I want to understand it deeply, I got to go back and read everything. And you know what? I don't want to understand it deeply. The federal government has plenary power over marijuana when it comes up against the state law. You don't like that? If it makes your butt pucker, it messes up your business. Okay. I don't know what to tell you, because I was presented with the same thing when they threw my ass in prison. Broke federal law, dude. No one wants to hear you crying.
That's right.
Okay? It's not right. In fact, it's disgusting what they're doing. But you don't understand it. It's real. Okay. So you can jump up and down and scream and yell and piss and moan about all you want. If you're a federal judge, if I'm a federal judge, and you ask me, hey, I want them to give my weed back, you go, this is a Schedule I drug, and it's strictly prohibited under federal law. If I'm the federal judge, I don't have any choice in the matter. I got to tell them, hey, this is no different than having a truckload of fentanyl in the eyes of the federal criminal law. Now, we all know that's crazy. There's no rational thought about that, but we're still stuck in the old drug war mentality. I'm happy to see from the last story some people are getting their head out of their ass and recognizing that there's things that are used here as tools to keep the industry down. Perhaps we should fix them. But I'll tell you what, why don't you go in and close the doors and pizza, get some beer in there and talk about, let's take marijuana out of the Controlled Substances Act altogether. How about that one? Okay. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But just a reminder, the federal government can kick your ass if you touch weed. Spending prohibition's gone from the latest rider. You don't have the protection of, what is it, Blumenauer or McClintock anymore.
That was re-added in the latest edition of the latest budget, so that's back in play now.
Okay, it's back in play, but this guy said none of these spending provisions changes the reality because the spending provision stopped the DOJ. And he pointed out this is quarters and this is, border protection. It doesn't affect them. They can go to court and kick your ass. So there's still a lot of games being played here. And for those of us who are looking for, streamlined, simple solutions, you point out, here's some rational things you can do. You run into, the prison industrial complex, SAM, all these knuckleheads who don't want this to happen, blah, 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 blah. And you keep getting this nonsense. Just remember, if you end up in front of the federal court with weed, you should expect put your affairs in order and get used to eating with a spork and wearing some orange jumpsuits. I'm gonna throw us back at you guys. What do you think?
Well, Dale. So I'm a little. Did any of these people from this case actually do any time?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
This is basically civil stuff.
Well, so this is my point. This is exactly what I was going to go into. Is just even with Rohrabacher Farr in place, it means that the federal government can't use any dollars to prosecute. You know what I'm saying? These types of cases. Now, if the CBP happens to pull you over and they discover this, they have every right to seize it. They don't necessarily have the right to charge you with a crime, but they definitely have the right to seize everything because that is within their privy and is not outside of the scope of Rohrabacher Farr.
They have the right to do that.
Yeah.
Okay? But they also have the right to charge you with a crime.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether we like it or not, I mean, we haven't been doing it. They've recognized going clear back to the Cole memo and Ogden memo and all that stuff. We really don't want to do this. We want to sort of soft sell this. But they looked me in the eye and said, you broke federal law, dude. Grew more than 100 plants. You're going to jail for 5 years.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you can kiss my ass. Okay? That's still the reality we face today. You get stopped with a truckload of legitimate product from the state, the feds get you, do the math, and you got more than 100 plants worth there, or you got more than 1,000 plants worth there. You're looking at minimum mandatories, and you can scream all you want. That's the problem we all face. That is the sword of Damocles that hangs over the entire industry. And this case just says once again, hey, all the states have a right to do what they want with their own laws, but they can't change federal law. And if we want to, we will kick your ass.
Yeah, this ruling's just a good reminder that federal law hasn't changed. And until it does, every legal cannabis owner is building a business on land that Washington still considers contraband. So they can do it anytime they want. I think that's going to be the big scare also, right? Going into Schedule 3 is still, it's going to be new guys coming in to take over with their, enforce their laws. So see what happens.
Well, I think things would change dramatically under a Schedule 3, but I think, again, that's only going to be enforceable for medical. I don't think that's going to be enforceable for adult use. So it's gonna be, again, it's gonna really depend on what the language is, whatever Pam Bondi finally releases and whatnot. And I'm surprised we haven't seen anything yet. But then again, I'm not surprised, but I am surprised, but I'm not surprised. You know what I'm saying, Stone?
Oh, but
I know what you're
rescheduling doesn't take marijuana out of the minimum mandatory statutes. Okay, 21 USC 841, I think, is what they got me on.
Yep.
If you have 100 plants or the equivalent, you're going to prison for 5 years.
Yep.
Okay. If you don't have a Schedule 3 license, you're still in the same potential jeopardy. That's why you can't, doing this piecemeal makes us all feel a little better. It's like, oh, I got 1,000-pound weight on me. I'm going to take 5 pounds off. Do you feel better? Yeah, but I got 995 pounds still on me, God damn it. You're not making me feel better. This has got to have a wholesale, let's wipe the slate clean and start over again. And I just don't see how this divided political climate we're in right now is going to get us there. Don't.
Any thoughts on this, Nate?
I'm a little bit removed in terms of personal experience because obviously this is a bit of a federal versus states rights kind of idea, and what's illegal in one place versus how it's viewed from a different place. But being within the state and the idea of of believing you were working like within the lines of the law, believing you were not doing anything wrong, actually working to try to do the right thing, even at the expense of so much sanity and capital, like what it really is to participate in a state program, but to be able to at the end of the day say, you know what, even though I'm having crap flung at me constantly, at least I'm trying to do it right. And I can't imagine the level of, actually I kind of can't imagine, but the level of regulators, people who, jurisdiction be damned, it was not something that they needed to do in terms of scramble these companies, and especially with taking their property, that would have amounted to anything that would have been a benefit for that agency. And so to do all of this while breaking these people who, let's underline, are actually trying to do it the right way while breaking their trust seems so inhumane. And I know that the sort of the law of the land, especially federally these days, isn't about what's humane or necessarily fair for everyone. But damn it, this doesn't feel right for all of the same reasons that I was subjected to when that didn't feel right either. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting how you framed that.
There's no justice in criminal justice. I'm sorry. It's a myth.
That part.
We have a different DOJ than we had when they went after me. Thank God. Still underlying, there's a thought that you're criminals. We will treat you like criminals. And it may have softened a bit, but I'm just telling you, if you have the equivalent of 100 plants in your possession, you're looking at 5 years in federal prison. And if you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you, because that's the reality.
You are so right about that, Dale. And this administration is all about the FAFO. You know what I'm saying? Any final thoughts on this, Stone, before we move on? All right, fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Rescheduling cannabis, which was classified as more dangerous than fentanyl. Trump's action will destroy the cartel's illicit black market, expand medical research, and ensure seniors and veterans safely receive the care they need. Thank President Trump for delivering on another America First promise.
I'm steering, I'm driving as fast and as efficiently as possible. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And make sure that you're following us on X and Rumble, as those are the most two stable platforms on the metaverse.
Under President Trump, America is back. Trump's delivered the largest tax cut in history, putting more money in our pockets and restored America's economic dominance. Promises made, promises kept. Now it's time to fulfill another promise from President Trump and reschedule cannabis, which supports over 400,000 jobs and creates billions of dollars in economic growth. Reschedule cannabis and stack another win, Mr. President. America First Agriculture Action Inc. is responsible for the contents of this advertising.
Yes, and we are back, you guys, and we are going to roll right into Mr. Stone Slade out there in the Blue Lagoon of Texas, known as Austin. That's right. He loves to smoke tumbleweed and Delta 8 vape pens, and maybe sometimes when they're done, he'll like to throw them at cars because he's angry he can only get Delta 8 in the great state of Texas. Is none other than Mr. Stone Slade.
You know, Jason, one of these days somebody's going to actually believe you, and that's going to be really messed up, my friend. All right. So this story here just might diddle your cookies.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Here we go.
Let's talk about an email, not a meme, not a theory, an actual email that was pulled from the DOJ's Epstein file release, the latest one. This email is dated October 2018. The sender seems to be the former Israeli Prime Minister, Ehud Barak, and the recipient is Jeffrey Epstein. In the email, Barak references someone showing intention of investing in Winokur, and then says the cannabis company, pre-listing in NASDAQ. That's the line that has people buzzing, because Winokur is not some fringe startup. It's Israel's largest medical cannabis company, publicly traded, vertically integrated, pharma grade, operating globally and chaired by Ehud Barak himself. But here's why the mention is beyond Israel. Winokur is not just producing medical cannabis domestically. It holds exclusive partnerships to be distributed in to distribute major American cannabis brands in Israel and parts of Europe. That includes Cookies, the globally recognized brand built by Berner. It includes Mike Tyson's brand, Tyson 2.0. It's worked with Tilray, Charlotte's Web, and Ornogram. In other words, Israeli's company sits at the intersection of American cannabis culture and international medical markets. So naturally, when Epstein's name shows up in proximity to a cannabis company preparing to go public, people start to connect the dots. But let's slow down just a little bit. There is no SEC filing listing Jeffrey Epstein as a shareholder in Winokur. There's no documented equity stake. There's no confirmed capital transfer. What the email shows is communication, interest, and proximity. And proximity is not ownership. But here's where the broader network becomes relevant. Barak has acknowledged meeting Epstein roughly 30 times between 2013 and 2017. Epstein invested around $1 million into Barak-linked tech venture called Caribbean. The relationship was real, documented, and established. Now, add another layer. Between 2004 and 2006, Barak received approximately $2.3 million from the Wexner Foundation for research work. The Wexner Foundation, founded by retail billionaire Leslie Wexner, is a philanthropic organization, not an investment fund. It awards grants. But during that period, Jeffrey Epstein was deeply embedded in Wexner's financial world. He had sweeping power of attorney over Wexner's finances. He served as a trustee connected to the foundation's broader ecosystem. Now, this is critical. There's no public evidence that Epstein directed, influenced, or financed the grants that Barak received. None, but proximity matters. When someone has extraordinary authority over a billionaire's finances and sits inside the same philanthropic orbit, funding a political figure, it raises legitimate questions and about introductions, influence, and relationship brokerage. This is not an accusation. This is structure. Fast forward to 2018, Winokur is preparing for its NASDAQ listing. American cannabis brands are looking outward for international expansion. Israel has long been a leader in medical cannabis research and pharmaceutical grade production. And inside that moment, there's an email referencing potential pre-listing investment interest from someone in Epstein's orbit. Right now, there's no documentation, again, tying Epstein to that specific Wexner Foundation funding that Barak received, and there's no evidence showing Epstein invested in Winokur. But the email places him at least in the conversation during a pivotal stage of global cannabis expansion. Epstein had a pattern. He positioned himself near emerging sectors, tech, defense, academia, science. In 2018, globally traded medical cannabis was an emerging sector. Would he have been interested? It does fit the pattern. Did he actually invest? There's no proof of that. Until there is proof, we don't make the leap. If internal communications, shareholder records, or financial documents do ever surface, we will cover that here. But until then, it's not a story about secret ownership. It's about networks and proximity. It is about power, capital, and cannabis brands and international medical markets intersect long before the public ever sees the headlines. And when those overlap involve someone like Jeffrey Epstein, scrutiny is not optional, it's necessary. I'm Stone Slade with the High at 9 News. Damn.
Wow. So Stone, let me make sure that I'm understanding this all correctly, because it's a complicated web of entanglements right here.
Such a web.
What was the former prime minister's name? Naib?
Ehud.
Excuse me. Okay, Ehud Barak. So Ehud Barak has a fund, correct? And there is financial evidence that Epstein invested in that fund. Am I correct?
No, there's no evidence that Epstein himself did. The email was sent to Epstein as if it feels like there was a conversation about this cannabis company. He's letting them know that cannabis company that we talked about is about to go public, looking for an investment. Now, nothing shows that he did, but Leslie Wexner's company did it like 2.5 million. I forgot the number. It's in my story, but he invested, and he's also very implicated in many other of the files.
Very, very implicated. Interesting. How crazy is it that cannabis companies ended up through all of this whole dump?
But there's so many just obscure things that come up in there, like the University of Texas, all these different college football things come up connected to him that, that obviously have anything to do with the diddling. Grateful Dead comes up as he was trying to do something with tickets, some kind of ticket scam.
Yeah.
But he touched a lot of things.
Man.
I didn't mean it that way, but he did.
Yeah, well, he did, yeah. And I don't know I've been out in the investor world for cannabis, and there's some sketchy people.
Yeah,
Let me just say, there's some sketchy people out there that want some weird shit. But I never really worked with one that I knew, you're a convicted pedophile. Let's go sit down and have lunch and see if we can get some money out of you. That's where this gets beyond shady. And just to be upfront, I'm a girl dad for 50 years. Okay? I'm just telling you, you do this to one of my kids, my grandkids, right? Criminal justice system is the least of your worries.
Yeah, exactly.
I met some people in prison that I'm pretty sure could have a little chat with you. And that's my gut problem here, is that I've gone up in court against child molesters before. I have a spot in my gut that makes me want to puke. Beyond that, I want to shoot them in the head. Okay. So if you're dealing with these folks, and that's, I guess, sort of the problem I have about all of this, is that there are rich and powerful men that close their eyes, go to their boner place and see a little kid.
Disgusting.
In my world, that's irredeemable.
Yep.
And I'd be happy to put the hot shot in you myself.
Yeah.
So we're fixing that, in my opinion.
Exactly.
No.
There is one fix. There is one fix. Pow.
Plume
you know what I'm talking
and
about. Yeah.
That's what they tell you in the cartels, plume or plata. Take some silver or we shoot you.
Yep.
No silver here.
No.
The bullet to the head.
And
I'm sorry.
And no colloidal silver as a substitute.
No.
Yeah. What? Any thoughts on this, Nate?
Just reflecting on what Dale said. Great story, by the way, Stone.
Yeah, great job, Stone.
Awesome rundown. No, it's such a small community. I've seen people shunned and worse for much, much less. And especially in cannabis, one of the markings of somebody who's been in the industry for a long time is an awareness of how small the industry is and how everybody knows everybody. You don't F around with that when your reputation is everything.
Yeah.
And so it's just, just to reflect a little bit of what Dale said right there. I would, further just create that dimension to it. I don't know, how many times did you and I run into each other at events, Jason, before we ever work together on the news? So just as for instance, you see everybody all the time. Somebody, you wouldn't often hear about somebody's investments being tied up in some shady shit. Normally there's a more of a level of familiarity what everybody's doing. So it does seem like, from this side of things, a bit of a stretch, but what do I know? I'm not involved in international cannabis business either.
Well, I will say this, Stone. I think you did a phenomenal job with this, with pointing to the facts, sticking to the facts, and laying out exactly what we know, what is able to be proven, because a lot of times people love to just jump to conclusions on things and create these different scapegoats and create different narratives and whatnot. So thank you so much for covering this, bringing this to some light. And who knows, maybe in some of those other pages we'll find more information and have a follow-up story on this sometime soon, because I'll tell you what, Stone, you know what it is, especially being out there in Texas. When there's smoke, there's fire.
That's right.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yes. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi. Yes, and we are back, and we are going to roll right into Mr. Nate Winokur. Nate started one of the most respected labs in California, and then the DCC unjustly targeted him with no just cause and forced him to close his business down. And now Nate is forced to have to educate the general public on all the nuances of testing in his new programming, Teaching Bud, available on Instagram, YouTube, and all streaming platforms across the metaverse. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Nate Winokur.
Thank you so much for the intro, Jason, and thank you everybody for having me today. Today's story comes from IFL Science. You know what that stands for, Jay?
IFL?
a word. Love.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say I and the F word that I can't say, and then L is for love. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say, Nate.
I effing love science too, man. Yeah. And today's article is titled "Smoking Cannabis Linked to Larger Brain Volume and Better Cognitive Function Later in Life."
This just proves I'm smarter than everybody else, Nate.
You know, anything we can draw from, man, I do the same, bro. I feel you.
Damn.
People who have used cannabis.
Don't prove that.
All right. Short article today, guys, I promise. People who have used cannabis at any stage during their lives display larger volumes in brain regions linked to memory, learning, and executive functions by the time they reach middle age, new research shows. As with all studies linking pot use to cognitive outcomes, however, these findings come with several caveats, as well as there are numerous variables that complicate the long-term health effects of cannabis use, of course. Nonetheless, the results of this latest study are noteworthy, particularly given the strength of positive signal detected by the researchers. Using data from over 25,000 people between the ages of 40 and 77, they found that moderate lifetime cannabis use correlates with size increases in the hippocampus. I had it a second ago. Amygdala. Thank you.
Amygdala.
I went for the long A, and I should have gone for the short A. Amygdala, cadula, and putamen. Given that these brain regions are linked to key attributes like emotion, motor control, and memory, thank you, by the way, Dale, the researchers decided to investigate how cannabis use impacts cognition from midlife to onwards. Examining data from 16,728 individuals, they found that once again, moderate use was linked to better performance in tasks that engage learning, processing speed, and short-term memory. I was a little surprised that every cognitive measure that demonstrated a significant effect showed better performance among cannabis use, said study author Annika Gua in a statement. It goes against your default assumptions because I think a lot of research out there has shown cannabis is associated with worse cognitive function, at least acutely. The researchers therefore suggest that while using cannabis may pose risks to adolescents, these harms do not appear to persist later in life. Instead, cannabis may actually protect the brain against age-related atrophy and neurodegeneration, both of which are strongly linked to cognitive decline and dementia. At this stage, it's unclear how the drug exerts these positive effects, although it's noteworthy that all of the brain regions examined in this study contain high concentration of CB1 receptors, which represent the primary binding site for cannabinoids like tetrahydrocannabinol, such as THC. Which is THC, rather. The authors therefore speculate that the activation of this receptor may somehow fend off brain shrinkage by modulating inflammation, immune function, or neurodegeneration. Moreover, many of these regions are particularly prone to atrophy later in life, with loss of volume in the hippocampus thought to play a major role in dementia. As such, the researchers tentatively suggest that cannabis might help to prevent certain types of cognitive decline. Overall, the correlation between cannabis use and both enhanced brain volume and improved cognition was strongest in people who had consumed the drug moderately during their lives. Amazingly, positive effects were even seen in those who hadn't used pot for several decades prior to the assessment. Despite these findings, the study authors point out that there are still a lot of unknowns. For instance, cannabinoid use appears to affect male and female brains differently, and the reasons for this are not entirely clear. Additionally, the data fails to capture details of the type or strength of cannabis that people used. The researchers are therefore unable to provide any insight of how different cannabinoids, such as THC, cannabidiol, which is CBD, or cannabigerol, which is CBG, might be involved in mediating the harms and benefits of using cannabis. Overall, then, the picture is far from straightforward, and the study authors conclude that cannabis may influence brain health differently across the lifespan, potentially offering protective effects in older age while posing risks earlier in development. Also, I heard that as fun as it is, it's probably not the healthiest thing to crush up a plant and then smoke it and introduce its smoke into your lungs, but, you know, sometimes what we do isn't the most practical thing. But this is a really interesting kind of study that they're talking about, because there have been other instances where we've come across this. Maybe about 5 to 7 years ago now, there was a multi-university study of diabetic and general health across cannabis smokers, correcting for all sorts of things, such as dietary, age, their genetics in terms of body type, and so on and so forth. And what they found was, and I'm just possibly misquoting, but from what I can recall, cannabis smokers and consumers had 18% better regulated blood sugar and 12% thinner waistlines. It was very much of a similar type of idea where there were a couple of things they couldn't quite correct for. But overall, there was a significant difference in how the body helped regulate itself when cannabis was a regular part of your regimen, what keeps you healthy, or what you're consuming. And that's really, really interesting. It shows that there's a lot of hope maybe for how this impacts the endocannabinoid system, which I think to what this article is saying, that's a large part of what we're talking about when we mention things like endocannabinoid receptors, CB1, and so forth. When you mention CB1, greatest concentration is going to be in the brain. And considering this article is largely about brain health, that seems to make a lot of sense. I could go on and on about this, as well as a few little theories I have. Also pointing out that this isn't the first set of articles that have surrounded this. I've seen articles suggesting that a healthy regimen of both THC and CBD together in close to a 1-to-1 ratio is optimal for brain health in a lot of the same senses, and was being shown with some degree of success at helping to regulate some of the decline aspects of dementia and why can't I say it? Of dementia and
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. Thank you, my friend.
Got you.
That's too much.
See
for
how I
me,
read minds? That's that.
I need to bounce to you guys.
That's that brain. That's that brain working right there, bro. From all that, you know what I'm saying? Best trees in the world.
Trying to keep it medicated, man. That's my thoughts. No. What do you guys have to say about this? This is interesting stuff to me.
I mean, go for it, Dale. And then I'll.
It needs a lot more research, Nate, as you obviously understand. And I will go back to a study done by, I believe, Melanie Dreyer in Jamaica, where they studied women longitudinally who smoked weed like 2 trains in pregnancy, and the kids met all their milestones. I mean, in pediatric development, met all your milestones. Now, what we're looking at is at the other end, where whether you have family history of dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that, or you just did stupid stuff to your body and brain over your lifetime, and we get it, is there a way to try and slow down the progression of this? That would be something else that I think would be a selling point for physicians who really don't know what to do. There's inflammatory problems, there's plaques buildup, and there's a lot of things we just do not understand. And what those of us in the industry aren't scared to death to think about this, that why do we think? Why are we conscious? Why do we have these receptors in areas of our brain that are having to do with emotions and consciousness and thinking?
Yeah, why do we have
emotions?
When I was a
kid, they said, if you smoke this, you can't remember, you're not going to do anything, you're going to be a blob on your couch all the life. And I went, my SATs are pretty good. I did pretty well in college, smoked a lot of weed. So that stuff didn't sell well with me. Going into the future here, if we can get rid of the hysteria over weed, Sam's of the world, it's going to ruin life, and the pusillanimous physicians who are afraid to, we can't let you do this because what about the children? Let's get all that noise out of the way. And how about we look at those of us like me? I'm 71 years old. My grandmother had Alzheimer's. I'm looking every time I can't remember something, like, holy shit, am I getting this? Somebody in my age group who can use a product that we know is safe, can use it in ways that you're comfortable with, and you might be able to slow progression of a brain disease like this that we have no answer for right now. I think that would be an important thing to know. And that's where I'm going. I'm looking for facts. I try to understand how the brain works, and I'm not an expert in that. My father-in-law was a psychiatrist, Molly trained in psychiatry. All around the family, we had people who were experts in the brain. None of them do shit, honestly, about how the brain actually works. Can we open our eyes and get rid of our biases and prejudice and see if we can offer some hope to the old farts like me? We're getting to the point where I don't want my brain to turn into what my grandmother's brain was. Is there some hope for me? Okay. And I just think that we need to stop the hysteria, and let's look at this like we would. I mean, hell, people are taking Wegovy and all that other shit right now to lose weight without any idea what this is going to do long term. Okay. And here we have a plant that we got a documented 5,000-year history. Okay? It is not going to hurt you. All right. Can we use this? And there's just so many complications here to being what I would consider to be rational, democratic. Okay, let's take a look at this, break it down a bit, have some studies. I think there'll be long-term following of people. This information needs to go to people out there that this is not going to hurt you unless you're really stupid. It may, in fact, ward off some of the things of old age that scare people to death.
It sounds to me like, Dale, if you're stupid, it might actually make you, get a little unstupider.
Well, at least as you get older, it'll help you decline less so than people who might be stupefying around you. Now, do you guys want to hear a fun little just kind of,
but what about,
chemistry meets biology in this case lesson about cannabis in our brains?
Nate, well, before you go into that, what about if you're slightly stupid, Nate?
Well, you know, I mean, I've worked with those guys. I've worked with those guys, and one, they're a fantastic jam band, and two, they're really nice guys. So that's, you know, you got my support there.
All right.
Fun little lesson about this, and I'll try to be really quick.
Yep.
But cannabis, if you guys have ever worked with it, it's basically an oil. It's oil soluble. When you make an extraction, what is this extraction? It's an oil. It's a complex oil. And so what we have here is this very oily product, pure THC, even as an oil, you know, CBD, so on and so forth, all oils. When the guy, you know, going back, you know, we're talking, 60 something years now, when the guy first discovered cannabinoids long time ago, and cannabinoid receptors, the way he discovered the cannabinoid receptors is knowing how oily cannabinoids are. You know where he went in the brain to try to determine where that high density of cannabinoid receptors would be in the body and the brain? He went to the most oily part. He theorized that because oils are oil soluble, that's how it works, right? Different kinds of oils tend to be oil soluble largely. He theorized that the part of your brain that was designed to capture all of these cannabinoids, assuming it's meant to capture these cannabinoids, hint, hint, wink, wink, it probably is. The part of your brain that's meant to capture these cannabinoids and guide them through to these endocannabinoid receptors, are they themselves oily? One can suggest extremely deliberately, so that when you're introducing these cannabinoids to your body and they flush through your whole blood system, the part that picks them up is the spot they absolutely need to go to. And it knows how to do that because it makes itself through years of either creative design by a god or through, cold hard evolution. That brain knows exactly how to funnel those chemicals into it. And that's an insane thing. This is designed this way, right? Like it's virtually unquestionable. And so to know that this is a design and that this design helps us live longer and lead better lives doesn't actually seem that far-fetched, right?
Fair. You're right. Fair enough. And, Nate, it was definitely designed by God. Evolution is not real. That's a farce.
I mean, either which way, I think both theories sound kind of silly when you look at them in different lights. So
it's not a theory if it's real.
What I'm going to say right here is that no matter what happened, we were meant to take this. And now we have this article that hit realistically. These guys are pretty mainstream. They refer to it more as pot in the article. And I was changing the word to cannabis as I read through it because archaic sayings like that from mainstream publications are just grating to my cannabis, supporting brain. And as we go through it right here, I just need to help give at least that further perspective. It's insane. Mainstream publication is essentially acknowledging the usefulness in this. And that's huge in my opinion. So call this a good story, at least a good time story today.
Yeah. Look at that. I love a good.
Well, but as you know, we have a polar circulatory system, which means it's water. And the way that our body deals with oils is special. And it's intricate, lipoprotein systems and, carriers of these different fatty acids and things. And it's mind-boggling. We have a Paleolithic brain that is designed to use these, fats, if you will, these non-polar molecules in ways that mimic systems inside of our own brain. And it's like, how do you point at people that do that and say you're a bad person when the systems are there that predate any of our ideas about whether smoking weed or anything like that would be good or bad? Nobody gave a shit. You found a plant, you chewed on it, you feel good. Seeds, you ate them, made you feel good. Nobody cared about anything like that. This is just frustrating to be in a scientific mindset, okay, and looking at this from the Socratic method and rational scientific, and see there's more going on here than you're a bad person for smoking pot. But we still can't get out of that mindset that you're a bad person for smoking pot. It just defies any kind of logic. And it's very frustrating for anybody who's got any scientific training to look at this and go, how can you guys politicize this. And this is like, how do you handle cholesterol or sugars in your gut? I mean, how does all that stuff work? We figure out ways to do it, and nobody's bad for eating a Hershey bar, okay, or for eating butter. If you smoke this plant, it's terrible. Oh, because it makes you feel good. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's mind-boggling how stupid people can be. And I'll shut up.
Well. On that, I have one final story for you guys today. I think you guys will enjoy this as well. Because, you guys, a Florida appeals court upholds the state's THC limits on hemp products, you guys. That's right. Florida's 5th District Court of Appeals has affirmed the state's authority to enforce limits on total THC concentration in hemp products, siding with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services in a case that could have significantly altered how intoxicating hemp products are regulated. The ruling upholds Administrative Rule 5K-4.034, which defines total Delta-9 THC concentration for hemp and hemp extract products intended for human consumption. The rule mirrors the federal definition of total THC and has served as a key enforcement mechanism for state regulators. The case originated from a challenge brought by Chronic Guru, which sought to invalidate the rule. On April 17, 2024, the Florida Division of Administrative Hearings dismissed that challenge, and the 5th District Court of Appeals has now affirmed that dismissal, effectively maintaining the state's current regulatory framework for hemp-derived products. By upholding the rule, the court preserved Florida's ability to regulate hemp products based on total THC concentration, a standard that includes both Delta-9 THC and its potential conversion from THCA. The decision prevents a shift that critics argued could have opened the door to higher potency intoxicating hemp products being sold under existing law. The ruling comes amid broader efforts by Florida lawmakers to tighten oversight of the hemp industry, and in a statement following the decision, Commissioner Wilton Simpson praised the ruling as a validation of the department's authority. As soon as I come into office in 2023, we immediately began working with the Florida legislature to create clear and common sense guardrails for hemp products and to bring accountability to the hemp industry, which was completely out of control, said Simpson in a press release. Prior to these much-needed reforms, hemp products were sold without restrictions, including children, and with marketing and packaging specifically targeting them. Simpson says, I'm grateful for the 5th DCA panel unanimously upheld these protections, the limitation on THC concentration, and our ability to enforce it. Our resolve to protect communities from the dangers of intoxicating products cannot be bought, bent, or broken, he says. Wow. Cannot be bought, bent, or broken, Dale. What do you have to say about that? That sounds like a legal commercial if I ever heard one.
Well, the state maintains traditional police powers over health, safety, and welfare.
Yep.
And they've convinced themselves that this is a public safety and public welfare type of situation that we need to control.
Mm-hmm.
And, you don't like to call it a loophole, but, the workaround for THCA, once people figured it out, like, okay, let's take away the workaround.
Mm-hmm.
But at the core of this is what I was talking about in my last story is like, can we stop the hysteria about this? Okay, the children, who are we protecting here? We're protecting an industry. We're not protecting people. Let's just be honest about this.
Mm-hmm.
Stop playing the games. And the prohibitionists are still out there. What's coming out of his mouth is a prohibitionist statement. You want to control this, and it's like that's where greed starts. You're trying to control something, then the amount of money you can make from not doing that, or to not enforcing, or to make more regulations that are helpful for one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
It's the core of a lot of corruption we see going on in and around the industry. Kind of makes me sick. And I'm going to assume he's a Republican. Okay, so it's not just the Democrats doing stupid things.
That's fair.
Okay, sometimes the Republicans do some pretty stupid things, and this is a stupid thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they have the power to do it. They have the legal right and the legal power to do it.
And people lose me anytime I hear the think of the children. I mean, at this point, it's almost, I instantly think of how tone deaf the person who's uttering this is, because they don't realize how overused and how transparent at trying to evoke emotion a statement like that is, that it just literally gets funneled into the same bucket of bullshittery. It's just, that's what stands out to me in these kind of conversations. I'm looking for good points to be made from both sides. That's the only way I'll be able to help advance the subject, even from my own biases. So bring it on, right? I need to hear the arguments. And man, I almost feel like that secondhand embarrassment from even the side that I'm opposed to when I hear statements like that. I mean, come on. I mean, I think, Dale, you said something much smarter about it. Clearly, this isn't about protecting people. It's about, protecting an opportunity to look at an industry from an archaic standpoint. But what is that good for? We had an article earlier today talking about Kentucky and the potential groundwork for cannabis to maybe someday soon thrive in a place like that. How many people here would love to see versions, if not something that you're supposed to get drunk and high off of at the same time? How many people would love to see a group of people who have long since created distillate and distillates and ways of being able to communicate natural extractions, and to be able to potentially one day create something like a bourbon distillery style Everclear distillate that is meant to extract cannabis and has its own specific properties because of what grows in Kentucky, both from that barley and corn standpoints as well as from the cannabis standpoint. To me, that sounds like an organic future for farming and co-industry collaboration. So why aren't we looking more at that? That's really my only point. That's my dead stop on that whole thing, is why aren't more people looking at these types of opportunities that we can all benefit from, and really giving anybody else who tries to stand in our way from being able to be independent and free and make money, giving them a resounding FU when they try to stop us from doing what we need to do to progress. Yeah. It's just my thoughts, but how could it be any other way?
Interesting. Any final thoughts, Dale? I mean, Florida, they're sticking to their script.
It's Florida. It's this belief system that we're going to ruin Western society.
It's so crazy, right?
Smoke weed.
It's so just crazy. It's so crazy. This is something that God made. It's a plant. You know what I'm saying? People need to get over themselves. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.